all of the candidates and their guests please rise? Please remain standing until you are asked to be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of Northeastern University, Joseph E. Aoun, will now lead the platform procession. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dean of Northeastern University School of Law, Emily A. Spieler.
Thank you, Chief Marshal Robinson. And please join me in welcoming Joseph Aoun, President of Northeastern University, members of the Board of Trustees of the University, Stephen Director, Provost, the faculty of the School of Law, other leadership of the University, honored guests, family and friends, and of course, most importantly, the Northeastern University School of Law class of 2010. Despite the challenges in the world, this is a time for celebration. At the end of these activities, you, our graduates, will be leaving us with the degree of Juris Doctor. This is an achievement that you and your family should celebrate. You've survived a tough 3 years, and you've grown and changed in knowledge and wisdom since you made the decision to come to Northeastern School of Law. But before we salute you, I'd like to ask that we take a moment to thank the others who've helped you to reach this important moment in your lives. You would not have survived without the help of your parents, grandparents, spouses and partners, children and friends. They were the ones who supported you both financially and emotionally while you worked hard, grappled with new ideas and new thinking, figured out how not only to study but also to be a lawyer. Sometimes, maybe often, they suffered from your inattention when you simply didn't have enough time to attend to the people you love. So would the members of the graduating class please rise and turn to face your families and friends. And now, let us give your families and friends a rousing round of applause. And thank you all for the extraordinary contributions you made to this graduating class. Thank you to each and every one of you. Before we introduce our other speakers, there are just a few words that I would like to direct to you, our students, momentarily to be our graduates. Your class, the class of 2010, leaves a strong legacy at Northeastern. You helped establish the NU Law Journal. In your 3 years here, you participated in 3 successful student-organized symposia focusing on detention at Guantanamo Bay, on the subprime fallout and on the Second Amendment, followed by the successful publication of impressive journals. You helped us work through many difficult community conversations about issues that were internal, such as grading and co-op, and issues in the world, from the Mideast to support for union strikes to questions about a national election that was fraught with issues of race and gender. You built a really strong student organization in the SBA, and you worked to create new pathways of communication between the student body and the administration. You approached our recent conversations about school governance with courage, thoughtfulness, an understanding of strategy, and a willingness to negotiate. Good for you. I hope the lessons learned in this process are ones that you will take with you into the world. You survived what at some points may have seemed like endless renovations, and you finally had the full benefit of the renovations of our buildings. And I recently learned that you've organized a peer mentoring program that we will launch this coming fall, leaving yet another permanent mark on the culture of this school and the quality of students' experiences here. In your first year, you did amazing work in your social justice projects, providing valuable pro bono assistance to organizations and learning firsthand the way in which law can address disparities and social injustice. It made your first year tough, but you learned things you wouldn't have learned at any other law school in the country. And like your predecessors, you fanned out across the country and the world on your co-ops. You completed more than 800 co-ops in 28 states, Puerto Rico, and 13 foreign countries. From Boston to Alaska to California to Louisiana, from London to Taipei to Geneva to Tokyo, from Nicaragua to Mexico to The Hague, New Delhi and Bangalore, to Ireland, Israel, and Cambodia. You've worked in every legal setting imaginable: state and federal courts, international tribunals, domestic and foreign legal service organizations and public defender offices, unions, all levels of government, with in-house counsel in both for-profit and not-for-profit organizations, and in law firms of every size, both in the US and globally. A true record of geographic and legal adventuresomeness. Over 91% of you completed at least one public interest co-op. In total, you finished 368 public interest co-ops during the last 2 years, and quite a few of you have received prestigious postgraduate public interest fellowships, a testament to your own dedication and the experience you've garnered here. You've learned the importance of international law, not just abroad, but at home in the US. You did extraordinary human rights work all over the world. You worked in the UN Victims Unit in Phnom Penh, the Center for Disability Law and Policy in Ireland, the Center for the Rights of Immigrants in Mexico, the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia in The Hague. You worked at Oxfam, at Physicians for Human Rights, with the Center on Housing Rights and Evictions in Geneva, and for the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty in Washington, D.C. 10 of you did this work as fellows with our program on human rights in the global economy, and the rest of you followed your hearts to where you wanted to go. You worked on intellectual property issues all across the country. You went to Taiwan to pursue international corporate practice, to Hamburg, Germany to work on international maritime issues, and to London to investigate corporate social responsibility. You should indeed feel confident. Because of the Northeastern program, you know more about how to practice law and how to think about the law, and the relationship of the law to society and to justice than your peers who are graduating from other law schools this spring. You are poised to be both great lawyers and great leaders. You have a lot to be proud of, and we, all of us up here on the stage, we are all really proud of you. But it's also important to remember that the degree you receive today carries with it special privileges and very special obligations. It's almost 1,000 days since I welcomed you to Northeastern in the fall of 2007. These 3 years have been bracketed by turbulent politics, world conflict, an economic crash, and most recently an environmental disaster in the Gulf that reminds us of the possible damage that could be caused by the eagerness of human development. You are justifiably worried about what will happen next for yourselves, your families, and for the world around you. There are reasons to be hopeful, but the risks are also very high. It is in this environment that the careful study and practice of the law becomes ever more important. We are really very lucky to live in a country in which we strive to abide by the rule of law. It is through the law that we guarantee basic rights and freedoms, and through the law we defend these rights. But we are challenged in this country, as people everywhere are challenged, to ensure that the rule of law also means that we govern ourselves carefully and well. The diversity of our country and our national quest for both pluralism and unity require us to look to the law for our common moral code, for the normative glue that holds people together. It is the role of good lawyers to lead us on the path toward a rule of law that is also a law of justice. The strategic use of the law to achieve good rests in your hands, our future lawyers and our future judges. As new lawyers, you join a deeply important profession and tradition. We hope that we have done our job well. We hope that you have learned both the mechanics and the soul of the law. We hope that you take with you from the people who have taught you and from the people with whom you have studied a deep tolerance for diversity and an equally deep intolerance for injustice. If we have accomplished this, then you and we have done our shared 3-year job well. And I personally wish you well as you walk down the next path and find your voice as lawyers in this challenging, sometimes scary, but really wondrous world. Take risks when it matters. I told you that, I think, when I welcomed you 3 years ago. Have fun. Do good for others as well as yourselves. Stay true to yourselves and hang on to your passion. Stay in touch with each other. Support and comfort each other, and stay in touch with us as well. And finally, stay brave and never, ever be afraid to speak truth to power. Thank you. It is now my privilege to introduce several speakers elected by the graduating class to speak at this commencement. First, the class elects 2 student speakers, 1 from each rotation. This is a special recognition, and I'm delighted to introduce to you this year's selected speakers to you. First, Phil Hancock. Phil, where are you? Come on up. Phil came to us from West Virginia, having completed his undergraduate work at West Virginia Wesleyan and received a master's in human resources and industrial relations from West Virginia University. His first co-op was with the Litigation Bureau of the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. He then had the honor of working in the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs and Public Liaison as a White House intern, followed by a co-op in the legal department of Raytheon Corporation and one with the Massachusetts Governor's Office of Legal Counsel. Phil.
How about this class of 2010, huh? Come on, let's act like we're graduating from law school today. You know, if I could, I'd like to take just a few moments to recognize a few folks. How about a quick shout out for our Student Bar Association co-chairs, Noah Kaufman and Audrey Grace. I see, where are they? Not only were they full-time law students, but they also managed to find the time to serve and represent our class as liaisons with our administration. They did a really good job. I'd also like to recognize our graduation committee. Adrian Bisfan, Megan Bridges, Nick Ordway, Casey Baker, Sheena Burke, Jennifer Chang, Michelle Yosa, Ryan Logue, and Karishma Patel. From coordinating the distribution of tickets to planning all of this week's events, thank you for all of your hard work in making today such a special day. And to our fantastic and super intelligent class of 2010, I would personally like to thank each and every one of you for nominating me to serve as your voice on this special day. We are celebrating probably one of the greatest achievements of our lives, and for many of us, one of the greatest achievements in our families' lives. Only two of us get to do this on your behalf as students, and I am extremely honored to represent you. To our fantastic faculty and staff who are represented here on stage, these past 3 years have been pretty tough. But you took us from mere lumps of clay and molded us into beautiful masterpieces, and we are so glad that you took the time. And sometimes it was hard, I know, because sometimes we're hard-headed. But thank you for everything that you've done for us and for seeing to us that we made it here today. And last but certainly not least, our family and friends represented in this grand hall today and those who may be watching us via telecast online. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for being there when we didn't quite have the time to visit with you as long as we'd like to stay on the phone as long as we'd like to, because we had to read. We had to write papers and things like that. But you made such a tremendous sacrifice to see to it that we got here today. And we want to especially thank you for everything that you have done for us, and everything that we hope that we'll be able to make you proud. So here we are, here at graduation. You know, I really can't believe it. We're just moments away from receiving our doctorates of jurisprudence. I like that. Doctorate of jurisprudence. We've come a long way. It feels like yesterday when we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed arriving at Northeastern University for the first time as one else. I can still see us gathering in Curry Student Center for orientation. To Northeastern, we hail from every state on the East Coast, from Maine to Florida, from the Midwest, Missouri, Texas, Ohio, Oklahoma. Speaking of Oklahoma, Jenny Reed still owes me lunch for a defeat in the Fiesta Bowl by my West Virginia Mountaineers, and I still need to collect on that. And members also come from the West Coast, Washington State, California, Arizona, Colorado, and even Hawaii. We've come a long way, and now look at us, all decked out in our Snuggies and pincushion hats. We've cleaned up pretty well. You know, this whole graduation thing didn't hit me until, I would say, last Friday. Last Friday, I was sitting in my car at the last day of my co-op. And I turned the key, started the engine, pushed play on my iPod, and next on the playlist was Stevie Wonder. And you know, if I could cue it up, then I would to share it with you. But you know what Stevie told me? Stevie said, "Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours." I said, "Yeah, Stevie, that's what I'm talking about." So, you know, I'm driving around Boston, downtown, just completed my last co-op, knowing that I had just completed my last academic requirement here at Northeastern University School of Law, thus marking the end of this fantastic journey as an unofficial end. But today, we mark the official end. A few weeks ago, I was out to lunch and decided to grab some Chinese food. After the meal, I opened up the fortune cookie and it read, "You are the crispy noodle in the vegetarian salad of life." Honest to goodness. I looked at it for a second to reflect on it. I said, you know what? Yes, I am. I tucked it away in my wallet. You know, after having done my fair share of unpaid co-ops, there's plenty of room in there these days. I later read that fortune to my girlfriend, and she was like, "It's true, you are weird." Yeah. But anyway, I tucked that fortune away because I wanted to share that with my classmates today. You see, I believe that as students graduating from Northeastern Law School, that we are much like the crispy noodles in the salad of the legal profession. Think about it. We are very different from everyone else. How many times have you had to explain Northeastern to people? How many times have you had to say, "See, we're on quarters," or, "Well, we don't really have grades," or have you had to explain why we can take internships not just in the summer, but in the fall, winter, and spring? You see, we're crispy. A law school is a law school is a law school. Regardless of where you go, you'll be able to take civil procedure, torts, criminal procedure, property, and all of the basic classes that will help us as we prepare for the bar exam. But Northeastern is a different place. What makes us different is that there is a passion at Northeastern University that is unmarked by and unparalleled by any other school in the country. I guess you almost have to be passionate to come to school here. For most of us, this was a very expensive venture. And it speaks to our own individual passions. We came here because through the prisms of those individual passions, we see ourselves not just studying the law, but letting the law live through us. This is no accident either. Passion is written all over our school's mission statement. At Northeastern University School of Law, our mission is to fuse theory and practice with ethical and social justice ideals so that students understand what it is that lawyers do, how they should do it, and the difference they can make in the lives of others. We strive to produce lawyers who see the practice of law as a way to realize their goals, to find meaning and purpose in life, and to be of service to others in ways that are intellectually satisfying and personally rewarding. We are committed to engaging with the world outside the university, to harnessing our individual and institutional energy to address societal challenges, and to expanding knowledge that advances our ideals through research and scholarship. You see, that's passion. The mission of our school has also done something else. It has changed each and every one of us. It has changed the way we converse with people. Now if someone asks us a question, we're like, let's see, what's the issue, and let's see, what rule, and let's examine that rule a little bit, and how can we apply it, and are there any counter-arguments, and before we give them an answer, we make sure not to give them something so definitive as always or is, and we make sure that there's always a little bit of room for there to be more evidence that could be introduced in any discussion. Oh, and here's one. Now when we go home, we're always being asked for legal advice. We see the world much differently. Yes, we have changed. We are different, and that is okay. Speaking of change, our law school has changed while we were here. We are no longer the law school in the basement. We actually have a brand new, fantastic law school facility, and thank you, President Aoun, for making that investment for us. We're very proud of that facility. Things in our world have changed while we have been in law school, whether we know it or not, because we've been reading a lot. We lost Michael Jackson this year. We lost a good friend to our university, Senator Ted Kennedy. We lost one of our own. We get most of our news now through Facebook and Twitter. iPhones and iPads have debuted. And we elected a brand new President of the United States, Barack Obama. I'd be hard-pressed if I didn't speak to an issue that's probably on a lot of my classmates' hearts: the economy and the job search. Remember how earlier I spoke about how different we are. I see this as a tremendous advantage as we go out into the workforce, as we go out in these trying times. From where I stand, I see a super intelligent, super group of individuals who will make a fantastic impact in the world and to the legal profession. I see people who add value to nonprofit organizations, to government agencies, to law firms, to a whole host of organizations because of the experiences that we've had here. We are ready to add value. Future employers in the room, we're ready to add value to your organizations. In closing, again, I would just want to make sure that everyone knows how grateful we are for their support, their love, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you somewhere along the way. God bless. Thank you.
And our second student speaker is Noah Kaufman. Noah earned his undergraduate degree in political science from Tufts here in Boston. While at NUSL, he served as co-chair of the Student Bar Association. He did his co-ops with MathWorks, the firm of Foley Hoag, Bay Area Legal Aid, and Judge Fishman of the Massachusetts Superior Court. In the future, he'll be joining Foley Hoag as an associate, but in the interim, he's planning to work at Bay Area Legal Aid in San Francisco and to travel across the U.S. to China and to France. Noah.
Thank you, Dean Spieler. Distinguished members of the faculty and staff, Mr. Coe, family, partners, and friends. On behalf of the class of 2010, I extend to you our most sincere gratitude for your presence today. To my classmates, I can't adequately express how grateful I am for the opportunity to speak. Because it is from people who mean so much to me, it is an honor that I will never forget. I am particularly excited to speak alongside Phil Hancock and Professor James Hackney. I'll admit that I was initially terrified of Professor Hackney because of his use of the Socratic method in torts class. But, like all of my classmates, we very quickly came to realize that Professor Hackney is a phenomenal teacher, and I am indebted to him for his guidance and wisdom. And Phil, caring, engaging, articulate, and enthusiastic, embodies what makes Northeastern special, and I have proof. This is too small for you to see, but it's the pamphlet that the admissions office circulates to prospective students. On the outside, it says, "Why Northeastern University School of Law?" If you open it up, it says passion, experience, and justice. But on the outside is a picture of Phil Hancock. To the law school and university staff, and to the student members of the Commencement Committee, we thank you for the hard work that made our Commencement Week so memorable. And to our families, we extend a very special welcome, and we say thank you for the lifetime of love and support that made our graduation possible. Then we get a very serious look on our face, and we say, I really hope you guys didn't sell the pull-out couch, because we're moving in. And to my parents, in the interests of full disclosure, I say thank you for putting up with me for 3 years, and I will definitely move out before I turn 30. But more seriously, I'd like to speak today about the economic circumstances that played an important role during our time in law school. Before coming to Northeastern, I was fortunate to take part in a unique study abroad semester at sea program, in which my classmates and I sailed from Mexico across the Pacific Ocean to French Polynesia. Being surrounded daily for almost 2 months by nothing but the open ocean was a most humbling experience. One of our reading assignments was on the history of navigation. I remember being struck to learn that until a special clock was invented in the 18th century, it was virtually impossible to tell time at sea because the movement of the waves interfered with the mechanics of the clock. Because celestial navigation requires knowing the exact time, sailors who ventured out of sight of land, even with compass in hand, were generally unable to determine where they were or in which direction they should go. While today time is certain, we must acknowledge that we attended and are now graduating from law school in uncertain times. This economic uncertainty can leave us feeling similarly challenged and, I would suggest, similarly lost. With job offers and job security hard to come by, it is hard to avoid feeling undervalued. But in this time of uncertainty, marked by social and political polarization, it is the talent, passion, and commitment of this graduating class that should be most important and most valued. To get a sense of that polarization, one need look no further than Fulton, Mississippi, where over the same weekend in March, when the law school held its barrister's ball, the school board voted to cancel the high school prom rather than allow an 18-year-old senior to attend with her same-sex partner. Or one could look to Arizona, where last month the legislature passed Senate Bill 1070, a law that makes the failure to carry immigration documents a crime and that gives law enforcement officials broad discretion to detain anyone who they merely suspect may be in the country in violation of immigration law. Or one could look straight to the United States Supreme Court, which in the past year issued 2 rulings that reveal the extent to which corporate interests drive our legislative and judicial processes. In June, the court held in Caperton versus Massey Cole that an elected West Virginia Supreme Court judge need not recuse himself from a case involving the Massey Energy Company. This, despite the fact that Massey's CEO had personally donated more than $3 million to the judge's campaign. Then, in January, the court held in Citizens United that the First Amendment protects the right of corporations to spend unlimited amounts of money on political advertising, a decision that many feel will serve to entrench corporate interests in the political process. But fortunately, as Northeastern graduates, we are ready to tackle the challenges of a changing economy and changing social and legal landscapes. Be proud of what we bring to the legal community, because in our time here, we've been enriched by the lessons and the experiences that we've gained from our professors and from each other. From our professors, we've learned that the law reflects the values and protects the interests of people who are in positions to influence its passage and guide its interpretation. For this reason, we recognize the importance of advocating on behalf of those people who are not in that position, but who deserve justice as much as those who are. To that end, I want to specifically acknowledge Professor Carl Clare, whose commitment to the basic rights of others and willingness to give of his time and energy have profoundly influenced what I hope to do with my career. From our professors, we've learned too that in any dispute, no one person or idea holds a monopoly over all others. In order to achieve the results that we desire, it is necessary that we remain true to our values, but that we engage and respect those who see the world differently. Northeastern, as an institution, falls on the progressive end of the ideological spectrum. But at the same time, we recognize that not everyone in the legal community, and indeed not everyone in this graduating class, sees eye to eye on every issue. But from our professors, we've learned that to the extent that we think that there is a wrong, be it a vote of the Fulton County School Board, an Arizona immigration law, or a decision of the United States Supreme Court, we should devote ourselves to making it right. But in doing so, we need not make enemies of those who disagree. And, of course, we've learned valuable lessons from each other. First, and I cannot stress this enough, pickup lines that include the term attractive nuisance are completely ineffective. Second, you must be careful when and where you use GChat, because you can never trust your fellow law office members not to send you things that will cause you to lose your composure at inappropriate times, like in con law, for example. But we've also learned that the practice of law can be as much fun as it is rewarding when we're surrounded by people we respect and admire. What makes Northeastern unique is that the people who choose to come here do so because they value collaboration, community, and collegiality. In the past several weeks, it's been amazing to hear so many of you talk about how much you've enjoyed your law school experience, and believe it or not, how much you'll miss it. I know that we'll cherish the friendships that we're so fortunate to have found here. 3 years ago, on our first day of law school, we sat in 97 Cargill, and we listened as Professor David Hall described the importance of studying and practicing law while remaining true to our values. He recounted a story that day that he also shared with last year's graduating class in his faculty address. It is a tale that bears repeating because, as appropriate and inspiring as it was on our first day of law school, it is perhaps even more so now on our last. I'll pause here and explain to those guests who are not lawyers that we've been trained that when someone else has said something really intelligent, all you have to do is use a proper Blue Book citation, and then you're totally free to pass it off as your own idea. So with that said, Professor Hall told the tale of an elderly man who was weary, bent over at the waist, and near the end of his life. The old man was asked what was life's greatest burden, to which the old man replied that it was having had nothing to carry. In telling that story, I believe Professor Hall intended to remind us that it is not the obstacles and challenges that we face that threaten to push us off course, but rather that it's losing sight of our values and that which gives us meaning, be it a commitment to family, to community, or to advocating for those who are less fortunate. We must carry those values through our struggles and successes, for they serve as the compass that gives us direction, so that no matter how seemingly vast the ocean, we can be confident that we'll find our way. Thank you again, and congratulations to the class of 2010.
Well done. So as Noah said, the graduating class also elects a member of the law faculty to give a faculty address at commencement, and this year the students have selected Professor James Hackney. Professor Hackney teaches torts, as mentioned, corporate finance, corporations, banking law, critical race theory. His intellectual interests outside the classroom focus on intellectual history, law and behavioral economics, and critical race theory. He's the author of a leading book, Under Cover of Science, and is currently at work on a book that explores the roots of the financial crisis. He brings to his teaching and to his scholarship a fierce intellect tempered by a terrific sense of humor. He's also a wonderful law school and university citizen and served as Associate Dean for 2 of the last 3 years, and therefore 2 of your years here. James.
Thank you to the graduating class for the honor of having me speak to you at this very special event. I first want to commend your family, friends, and loved ones for supporting and guiding you to this moment. I was deeply touched when asked to share a few thoughts with you on such a momentous occasion as you continue your path forward into the legal profession and life. I've had the good fortune to interact with you in classes and as Associate Dean. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that it wasn't until I stepped down from administration that I got asked to give a commencement speech. While preparing for this speech, I thought back on those moments we were fortunate to share together and the ways in which my interactions with you have impacted me in a host of settings, ranging from class to our infamous No Talent show. Remember me as Barack and SMR as Michelle? I know that I speak for the entire faculty, who I'm sure has had similar experiences, in thanking you for the difference you've made in our lives and the law school we so dearly cherish. Of course, all of the moments have not been easy, and we all have faced difficult challenges, personally and within our community. That's life. In the midst of all of this, the world stage has been transformed in these short 3 years. Yes, we are living in unprecedented times. Our economy is suffering the consequences of unparalleled risk-taking and leveraging, the personal and social toll for which we have only begun to measure. Indeed, it is a precarious situation. It is a situation brought about by decades of accumulated myths. The myth of a free market, the myth of regulatory expertise, the myth of financial engineering, and yes, the myth of debt. As a result of this moment of demystification, we are entering a time of great uncertainty. Yet, this is a moment of hope and opportunity. The famous free market economist, Frank Knight, wrote an illuminating text entitled Risk, Uncertainty, and Profit, in which he astutely pointed out that while times of uncertainty carry with them risks, they also carry with them great opportunity. Knight was focused on profit in the narrow sense of business entrepreneurship, but the lesson has broader implications. This time of uncertainty presents unique opportunities for you, the 2010 graduating class, to make unprecedented contributions in whatever endeavors you choose. The worlds of government, finance, public service, and law are being reshaped before our very eyes. It is you who will construct the path forward. The personal and professional challenges you are being forced to navigate are no doubt daunting. However, you are particularly well equipped for the task. Northeastern is an institution with a long and proud tradition of training lawyers to act in the public interest. However, it is also a school that fosters entrepreneurship in the broadest sense of the word. Your experiences during these 3 years uniquely positions you to thrive in an environment of uncertainty, whether your chosen path is a public or private sector. As you move forward in those worlds outside of NUSL, I trust that you will hold true to the public interest values that are the hallmark of your education and the cornerstone of the legal profession. Because if one lesson of the current crisis is the danger of unbridled risk, another is the imperative that we all, each and every one, not only act in our self-interest, but also promote the public good. This existential imperative, and for you, professional obligation, may go a long ways towards guarding against the myths that plague us. My experiences with you give me much confidence that you're up for the challenge. I wish you nothing but the best on your journey forward, and leave you with these words from the great Spanish poet, Antonio Machado. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Translated, traveler, there is no road. You make the path by walking. I salute you in USL 2010 graduating class. And again, thank you for the contribution and the difference you've made during your time with us.
Thank you, Professor Hackney. Mr. President, The Board of Trustees of Northeastern University has authorized the conferral of an honorary degree upon the following candidate in recognition of notable achievement in his respective field. Harold Coe, for the degree of Doctor of Laws, escorted by Trustee Emerita Janice Smith and the Honorable Margot Botsford.
It is my pleasure to ask Trustee Emerita Janet Smith to escort the degree candidate and the Honorable Margot Botsford to join me at the podium.
Mr. President, I have the honor of presenting Harold Hungju Coe for the degree Doctor of Laws.
Harold Hongju Coe, renowned legal scholar, dedicated public servant, champion of human rights, an expert in international, humanitarian, and national security law, you affect the outcome of the great legal debates of our day. 3 United States presidents have sought your astute counsel and wisdom. A prolific author and eminent scholar, you offer insights that inspire us to fulfill our nation's highest ideals. You recognize the fundamental authority of the Constitution that underlies the American legal system while also valuing the decisions of other courts and judicial systems around the world.
For combining extraordinary intellectual rigor with a strong moral compass, Northeastern University is pleased to bestow upon you the honorary degree Doctor of Laws. In recognition of this degree, Trustee Emerita Smith will vest you with the hood. And now I'll present you with this diploma.
It's an extraordinary pleasure for me to introduce to you our commencement speaker, a consummate lawyer, scholar, and leader in the development of American international law and policy. Dr. Coe's life story is a quintessentially American story of immigration and success. His parents grew up in Korea under Japanese rule during a time when they were forbidden to speak Korean or even to use their Korean names. After a coup, his father was granted asylum in the United States. Dr. Coe was born here in Boston. His own personal life story is remarkable, weaving academic pursuits with policy, taking understanding built on scholarship to the highest levels of influence in our government. He graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from Harvard College, attended Oxford University as a Marshall Scholar, earned his law degree from Harvard Law School. He served as a law clerk for Justice Harry Blackmun of the U.S. Supreme Court and for Judge Wilkie of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. He began teaching at Yale Law School in 1985, and from 2004 to 2009, he served as Yale's dean. He was appointed U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor by President Clinton, serving from 1998 to 2001, and then returned to Yale. On March 23, 2009, President Obama nominated him to be Chief Legal Advisor to the U.S. State Department, and he was confirmed by the U.S. Senate 4 months later in June 2009. As a member of the Yale Law School faculty, Dr. Coe became a leading expert on public and private international law, national security, and human rights. He's the co-author of 8 books, including Transnational Litigation in U.S. Courts, transnational legal problems, and the National Security Constitution, which won the American Political Science Association's award as the best book on the American presidency. He has published more than 150 articles on international human rights, international business transactions, national security, and related areas. In addition to his scholarly pursuits, Dr. Koh has been an indefatigable leader and spokesperson for human rights. In the early 1990s, he led a group of Yale law students and human rights lawyers in litigation against the U.S. government to free Haitian refugees then interned at Guantanamo Bay, winning their release in the spring of 1993. He has argued before the U.S. Supreme Court, testified before Congress more than 20 times, been awarded 11 previous honorary degrees, 3 law school medals, and more than 30 awards for his human rights work. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and the American Philosophical Society. He served on the council of the American Law Institute and on the boards of directors of the Brookings Institute, Human Rights First, the American Arbitration Association, and the National Democratic Institute. Despite this extraordinary background for his current position, many of you may recall that his Senate confirmation process last year was contentious. His nomination drew rapid and sometimes virulent criticism from conservative commentators because of his views on the value of international law in American legal analysis and jurisprudence. The opposition was no doubt also fueled by his outspoken criticism of the Bush administration's policies on detention, interrogations, and surveillance, which, as he said in testimony to Congress in 2008, had imposed, and I'm quoting, unnecessary self-inflicted wounds which have gravely diminished our global standing and damaged our reputation for respecting the rule of law. He was, however, ultimately confirmed by a bipartisan vote just a little under a year ago. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Koh here today as our commencement speaker.
Thank you, Dean Spieler. Northeastern is very lucky to have a dean like you. And thank you, Mr. President, trustees, faculty, graduates, family, and friends. I'm thrilled to receive this great honor from this very special law school and university. Of course, there are many great law schools in the country and in the Boston area, but Northeastern plays an absolutely unique role in American legal education. As a former law dean, let me tell you, Northeastern exemplifies to every American law school a deep and genuine commitment to teaching how to give service through law. Your internships, clinical and co-op programs have led the way to showing how law students can serve the public interest even before you graduate from law school, and your co-op program has opened the door through which many public interest lawyers have walked. Like everyone here, I associate graduations with family. As a young boy, I remember watching my late father sitting at his desk, writing our tuition checks and calculating and recalculating the declining balance. And one day I said, "Dad, I'm sorry my education is so expensive." And he said, "Never be sorry. I'm not sorry. Why do you think I work? Why do you think I live? We don't have much, but if I give you education, we give you everything." So, my fellow graduates, like you, I owe my degree to my family. Please give them a big round of applause. Now, it just so happens that my own family is here today. They're sitting over by the blue line. My wife, she's the one with the red hair, a lifelong legal services attorney who for 30 years has lived the career of public service through law that your school exemplifies. My son, Will, who just finished his sophomore year in college, has surpassed me in many ways, not the least of which he is now our family's biggest Red Sox and Celtics fan. And I think I speak for Will when I say, "Won't you come back, big baby?" And my mom, Dr. Hae-sung Ko, she moved here to Boston more than 50 years ago. Here she raised 6 children, 11 grandchildren, and now 2 great-grandchildren. You can't miss her. She's smiling so broadly because for once, one of us got a degree for which she didn't have to pay tuition. I'm also touched by the presence of 2 of your professors, Professor Deborah Ramirez and her husband, Supreme Court Justice of Massachusetts, Ralph Gantz, my old law school classmate, and for some years my roommate. Their presence reminds me your law school classmates will be your friends for life. As we have learned in the decades ahead, you will attend each other's weddings, your children's baptisms and bar mitzvahs, the funerals of loved ones, and each other's confirmation hearings. In life, you have many acquaintances, but your real friends are few. So never forget that the colleagues who are sitting next to you today are not just professional colleagues. They are now, in a very real sense, your brothers and sisters in law. Now, like me, some of you are immigrants or children of immigrants. Some of you are the first in your family to graduate from law school. Like me, some of you entered the study of law thinking of it as an old boys network, only to find in your classmates a uniquely diverse student body that includes members of all races, ethnicities, religions, and sexual orientations. And you know, the legal profession is so much better than it was when I graduated for the diversity that your class represents. And as I look out over this magnificent class, I can't help but think of what the great Jackie Robinson once said. He said, you know, it became a much, much better game when everyone could play. What's been especially exciting about your law school education is how it has, for many of you, combined the local and the global. You studied international and comparative law with outstanding legal scholars and clinicians. You've participated in an innovative global law program of courses and co-ops that combine theoretical and practical learning and sent many of you around the world to NGOs, to UN agencies, to refugee rights groups, to global law firms, to international tribunals. And through this program, you have come to view law and social justice through a global, not just a local lens. What Northeastern has taught you is that international law will matter, no matter where and how you plan to spend the rest of your life. Because you, the members of the class of 2010, you are very special. You belong to the first genuinely global generation. Unlike your parents, who lived in a world divided by a Berlin Wall, you live in a world interconnected by a World Wide Web. And you see it in the way you think. Your parents still come to you and say, "Can you help me get on the internet?" And you think to yourself, I have spent my whole life online. I live inside the matrix. And as a friend of mine once said to me, think about how amazing that is. If 20 years ago you could sit in a park bench and have the knowledge of the world flow into your lap, they would have said, you are a god. Now it's just you surfing Wikipedia from your laptop. Or if you could have walked down the street 20 years ago moving your lips and they could hear you in China, they would say, you are a god. It's just you talking on your cell phone. But here's the rub. Until now, too often, you have thought of these technologies as toys, not tools. Too many of you have used these technologies to imagine yourself as, say, a rock star, or an auto thief, or even, may I say, the Prince of Persia. How many of you have used these tools to imagine yourself lifting others out of poverty and disease? So many of you have used the internet to fight imaginary wars. How many of you have used it to end real wars? You live in a global century, so in the years ahead, you must use the tools you've mastered to become better global citizens. Now, one of these tools happens to be my life's work, international law. And as the Dean said, for the last year I've had the honor of serving as the State Department's chief lawyer. One of my predecessors described that job as holding the country we love to its own best standards and principles. But how often do we as Americans really talk about how much or why international law matters? Somehow many Americans believe international law is not really law, and so we have no reason to follow it, even though a founding credo of our nation in the Declaration of Independence was to pay decent respect to the opinions of mankind. What I found is that individuals and nations both have a good reason to obey the law, because it is the right and the smart thing to do. Of course, international law can never be a straitjacket, but as we've learned since September 11th, if we don't obey international law, we squander our moral authority, we damage our capacity to lead, and we reduce the capacity of treaties like the Torture Convention or the Geneva Convention to protect our own soldiers and citizens. Now, some have railed against the dangers of transnationalism, but in this process, foreign law, it's not something to fear, it's something to understand. Just last week, in 2 Supreme Court cases, the Supreme Court cited international and foreign practice. In the Abbott case, they interpreted the Child Abduction Convention, reviewing Israeli, Austrian, South African, German, Canadian, and French cases to confirm their decision that the treaty right at issue included a right of parental custody. And in Graham versus Florida, the court held by a majority that the 8th Amendment prohibits the imprisonment of a juvenile for life without parole for a non-homicide offense. And in a controversial decision, the majority found support in the fact that the United States had been the only nation in the world that imposed that type of sentence. Now, if you wonder, what is the judgment of other countries and the international community relevant to what our 8th Amendment might mean, consider this. If no other nation in the world did it, maybe it's unusual. And after all, doesn't our 8th Amendment prohibit cruel and unusual punishments? The law is sometimes described as the wise restraints that make us free. To those who say international law constrains us, I say international law frees us to pursue global engagements. We are free to travel abroad, to take money from foreign ATM machines, to speak with, buy, and sell from foreigners because international law gives us the orderly frameworks to do so. And many Americans fear that international law will force us to surrender our sovereignty. But today, protecting our sovereignty means engaging the world, not withdrawing from it. Haven't you seen this every day that you've been in law school? Think of the challenges: financial meltdown, an energy crisis, climate change, swine flu, nuclear proliferation, trafficking, piracy, volcanic ash, oil spills, and yes, terrorism. In each case, the problem is not local, it is global in character. We are living in an interdependent world. That is the connectedness of the matrix in which you live. And in that matrix, international law is less often the problem than it is the solution. And if we don't build a framework of international law, too often we will have no good solution. Now, the main lesson I'd love to give to you today, the product of the 30 years since I graduated from law school, is that understanding and practicing international law is a ticket to an exciting life that combines the local and the global. As the dean told you, it was to study international law that my father came to Boston in the 50s. He was asked to serve his government, the government of South Korea, as minister to the US. Then his government was overthrown, which led me to grow up in America. And a few years ago, I was representing the US at a UN meeting in Geneva, and I sat at dinner next to an ambassador from a small South Asian country. And after we spoke, he said to me, "So what you're saying is that your father was ambassador to the United States, and in one generation, you are ambassador from the United States." He said, "In our little country, that could never happen. That is why you are the greatest nation." Think of that. What he was saying, it is not your weapons, it is not your military power, it is not your money, it is your openness, it is your diversity, it is your commitment to human rights and the rule of law, he was telling me, that is the source of your global leadership. And in my job now, not a day goes by that I don't marvel that the son of 2 Korean immigrants got a chance to clerk for the highest court of their adopted country, got the chance to lead a great law school, and now twice to serve the State Department, now as legal advisor to a woman Secretary of State who serves in the cabinet of an African-American president. And consider this. Not so long ago, none of us, the Asian American legal advisor, the woman secretary, or the African American president, would have had the right to vote. So only in America, but the price of this opportunity, I have learned, is responsibility. The responsibility to ask what you can do for your country. In her poem, The Summer Day, Mary Oliver asked the question that you, my fellow graduates, now face. "Tell me," she said, "what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" After law school, I told my mom I had taken a high-paying private job. I thought she would be delighted. You know what she said? "Did they need you the most?" I said, "What?" "Mom, I got a job, big salary, nice office, pay off my loan. Did they need you the most?" And then she said something. "You have so much privilege. You have the most privilege. Isn't it time for you to serve the least privileged?" So now that you finally have your degree, or will in a minute, don't forget the words of William Sloane Coffin. The goal of education, he said, is not to drive a wedge between thought and action. It is to enable action of a higher kind. Action of a higher kind. And so it was that last year, I chose to leave a home and a job I love to a small government salary, real small, a tiny apartment, my son's freshman year furniture from IKEA, and the most fascinating work I have ever had. My fellow graduates, I ask you to do the same. Take time in the next few years to continue what you started here Serve the public good, because frankly, your country has never needed you more. And as you do, let me leave you with 3 simple requests. First, fly into the flame. Take the risk. Try new things. Ships are safe in harbor, but harbors are not where ships are for. Others will urge you to play it safe. It's up to you to urge yourself to take new chances, and you will be scared. I am scared. Everyone is scared. New beginnings are scary, but the unspoken truth is that everyone is afraid. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. The greatest satisfactions and accomplishments come when you move forward in the face of your fears. A second old Korean saying is what my mother taught me: never, she said, never let your skill exceed your virtue. As lawyers, you have developed extraordinary skills. They will give you power that few in our society possess. You will have the power to throw people in jail, to ruin their lives, to save millions of dollars. Please use this power wisely. Remember, each of these tools has its own time and place. So, use the awesome power of cross-examination to break down a hostile witness. But try to remember to turn it off when you're talking to your children. May the force be with you, yes, but please don't let it take you to the dark side. Third and finally, live your values. Live your values. They make you who you are. In the years ahead, you will have many clients. But your clients are not just those who pay you. Your constant client will be the integrity of the law itself. Because a good lawyer, remember, is not just a counselor, but a conscience. A counselor tells her client what the law says, but a conscience tells her client not to follow an option that is awful, even if it may be lawful. So as a new lawyer, please remember 2 phrases. Very simple, but remember them. The first, I don't know. I don't know. Often you will not be sure. To be honest, most of the time at the beginning, you don't know. How could you know? You don't really know that much. Sorry, folks. But you know what? You know plenty. Be honest. Don't fake it. Tell them when you don't know. Not knowing is not something to be embarrassed about. What you're saying is, I will find out, and you will get a good answer soon enough. And there's another word you need to remember. No. No. All lawyers want to tell their clients yes. What is so much harder is to tell your client no. But as a predecessor of mine once put it, a lawyer should never, ever say no when your law and conscience tell you yes, but never, ever say yes when your law and conscience tell you no. So, fly into the flame, never let your skill exceed your virtue, and live your values. So let me close, my classmates, with some good news and some bad news. The bad news is this: in the years ahead, you will face uncertain and difficult choices. In making those decisions, you will feel very lonely. For all the love and support that is arrayed around you today, you will find that there are some decisions that only you can make. Those decisions will be for you alone. But here's the good news. As you make these decisions about life and law, more and more, you will come to trust yourselves. You will come to believe in yourselves. Because after years, after decades of seeking wisdom from others, you will find it in yourselves. So before you leave, please look up here at your teachers. Think of the ideas and hours they've shared with you. Think back to your loved ones, those who are here, those who could not be here. Draw strength from their faith in love in you. And then finally, trust the wisdom that you find inside yourselves. Remember your dreams and your values, the values that brought you here and that brought you through here. Tell me, my friends, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? As Adlai Stevenson put it, as you leave here, remember why you came. Happy graduation, class of 2010. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you, Dr. Coe. The degrees will now be conferred. I call upon Provost Stephen Director.
Mr. President, it is my privilege to report to you that the candidates here assembled and others have qualified in all respects for the degree of Juris Doctor. They have successfully completed curricula offered by the School of Law and have been recommended by the faculty and the Board of Trustees to be awarded degrees in recognition of their academic accomplishments. Emily Spieler, Dean of the School of Law, will now present the candidates.
Will the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor please rise and remain standing until your degree has been conferred? Mr. President, I am deeply honored to present to you the candidates who have qualified in all respects for the degree of Juris Doctor.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University, I do hereby confer on you and all those who have properly qualified the degree of Juris Doctor with all the honors, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto pertaining. Graduates, I salute you.
Will the graduates please be seated? The marshals will now present the graduates to the platform. Graduating students Michelle Losa and Nicholas Ordway will announce the name of each graduate as they profess for hooding by Associate Deans Lee Breckenridge and Martha Davis. After hooding, the graduates will receive their diplomas. Several graduates will be hooded by their parents who are graduates of this law school, and I'd like to ask those graduates to come forward and join their children as they process onto the stage. One member of this class, Greg Huff, passed away while he was a student. His diploma will be presented posthumously to his father, Michael Huff. Will the marshals now present the graduates to the platform?
Travis Michael Augustin. Janine Alberto. Paula Kate Altman. Sofía Admira Apostola. Zaina Elias Audi. Casey Lee Baker. Spencer John Baldwin. Megan Bard. Christine Louise Beckett. Erin Rose Bellavilla. Aoife Teo Bell. Robert Kelly Bench. David Birch. Michael Birch. Adrian Bispham. Rachel Ann Boynton. Michael Nicholas Baza. Nicholas J. Bradley. Megan Doreen Bridges. Heather Elizabeth Burke. Megan K. Burke. Sheena Ann Burke. Jonathan Howe Casiola. Patricia Millington Castaldo. Elizabeth Jane Kavanaugh. Jennifer K. Chang. Seth Cohen. Jessica Lee Conti. Stephen Andrew Coppola. David Richard Crandell. Deidre Jean DeLay. Sarah Mira Doherty. Erin Margaret Dwyer Frazier, who will be hooded by her father, A. Gregory Frazier, class of 1976. Leah Robin Farzine. Lauren Michelle Faber. Caroline Brannon Fisher. Peter Michael Fisher. Mariah Christine Freark. Erin Virginia Freeborn. Susanna Celeste Eula Furnish. Brett Ellen Gallagher. Ira Gant. Todd Garbatini. Allison Brooke Garin. Emily Garvey. Gretchen Edison Gaynor. Alexandra Lillian Geiger. Lena George Gomes. Jessica Udowitz Gould. Audrey Mastrogiovanni Grace. Cassie Jeanette Haynes Gracia. Abigail Eileen Green. Alexander Trench Green. Sarah Elizabeth Greenfield. Rebecca Eileen Greening. Michael Scott Greenside. Jacqueline Irene Gurani. Jessica Rist Hahn. Dominic Joseph Hamilton. Christopher Hammer. Phil A. Hancock. Jeffrey Gordon Harris. Shannon Emily Hart. Mary Catherine Hawkins. Jennifer Susan Greenwood Hawthorne. Patrick Michael Hill. Benjamin Lee Hirschfield. Mariah Cambria Holder. Catherine Mary Hornby. Megan Elizabeth Horrigan. Shirley Wang. As many of you know, last year our class lost a dear friend, Greg Huff. While he cannot physically be here with us today, I know that his spirit lives on with many of us. Graduation just does not feel the same without him here, and I miss him terribly. Today, his father and stepmother, Michael and Terry, are here to accept Greg's diploma. Greg's mother, who could not be with us here today, wanted everyone to know how much Greg's law school community meant to him. Thank you. Brandon Hughes. Ari Khan Irvings. Robert Earl Jack. Kerline Jean-Louis. Richard Milton Wang. Aaron Cowake. Jennifer Kamochai. Noah Kaufman. William Leyburn Kendall. James D. Kerr. Marie Kessler. Elizabeth Marie LaFrance. Rocky Lahiri. Vincent Lai. Benjamin D. Landry. Charlene J. LaRock. Erin Michelle Lay. Jason K. Lee. Leslie Leonesa. Jennifer K. Lee. Michael J. Licker.
Michelle Yosa. Gavin Harps Logan.
Ryan Emmett Logue. Richard Martin Lewis. Kelly Antula Love. Megan Ray Lauer. Dana Simone Luke.
Vanessa Lee Madge. Philip Anthony Mallard. Nicholas Matthews. Michael Joseph Maxwell. Bridget Ann McCauley. Christine Dawn McClenny. Brandon C. McDaniel. Maureen Elizabeth McDonald. Justin Case Mikowski. Adam Scott Minsky. Khalil Abraham Mitchell. Sarah Lauren Mitchell-Weed. Jane L. Moisten. Ilani Morales. William Joseph Mostyn IV, who will be hooded by his grandfather, William Mostyn, class of 1953, and by his father, William Mostyn, class of 1974. Graham Thomas Mauday. Kevin Patrick Mulligan. Catherine A. Murdoch. Melina Elizabeth Neely. Albert Nodar. Charlotte Noss. Okechi Chituru Okburi. Caitlin Dawn Oliver. Norman F. Orban III.
Nicholas Joseph Ordway. Chanda Ook.
Stephen Robert Pakin. Lindsay Michelle Pallardi. Lee Erica Byron Palmer, who will be hooded by her father, Gerald D. Palmer, class of 1976. Tiffany Ann Parento. Karishma Kiran Patel. Sarah Eileen Petrie. Daniel D. Pond. Ann Poulis. Kasha M. Pranetta. Harsha Paluru. Abigail Lauren Putnam. Matthew Edward Quigley. Joshua Raisler Cohn. Meredith Rayleigh. Jennifer Rattan. Evelyn Evans Redmond. Caitlin Suzanne Reed. Ginny Lee Reed. Meg Marie Rayrauer. Dara Ann Rapucci. Daniel E. Rios. Audrey M. Robert Ramirez. Darcy Hill Robertson. Criselda Ruiz. Adam Andrew Sandoval. Lee Catherine Sapir. Amy Marie Schneider. Laura Beth Schofer. Samuel Adam Siegel. Fazila Yusuf Siddiqui. Justine Lee Samiski. Brandon Carter Simpson. Guinea Singh. Jennifer Alexis Smith. Kara L. Smith. Thomas Robert Spera, who will be hooded by his father, Thomas M. Spera, class of 1978. Vanessa St. Ledger. Rachel Amara Stanley. James Ansel Steinhilber. Chase Strangio. Tamara Lauterbach Sturgis, who will be hooded by her father, Peter Sturgis, class of 1975. Mark Loy Tang. Jacob S. Taylor. Adam C. Thrasher. Carrie Christina Tipper. John Peter Trummer III. Joel Vanderveer. Alyssa Reiner Vangeli. Joshua J. Vota. Tenzin Wangyal. Ryan Humphreys White. Kaylin Lacressa Whittingham. Jeremy Michael Wolf. James Patrick Wolf. Christopher Robinson Worcester. Paige Seidler Young. Thomas Philip Zito. Natalie Zwerger.
Mr. President, I give you the Northeastern University School of Law class of 2010.
Please be seated. Graduates, I'm going to give you your charge now. I'm going to be very long, so be patient, an hour and a half. But let me start by thanking Phil Hancock, Noah Kaufman, and Professor Hackney, my colleague. Thank you for your thoughtful words. Give them a round of applause. Absolutely. Absolutely. Professor Coe, thank you for your inspiring speech. We are happy to welcome you to the Northeastern family. Mrs. Coe, here today for our commencement, Harold was indeed needed the most. Thank you for allowing him to be here with us. Graduates, you begin your careers at a time of unprecedented opportunities and challenges. And perhaps the most important aspect of your legal education is that you did much more than accumulate knowledge. Law school taught you how to think, how to analyze complexity, how to ask questions in search of the truth. These skills are invaluable. The world's most complex challenges are eliminated by thoughtful, penetrating questions, not just linear questions that generate simple answers, but also questions that reshape and reframe, questions that append the way we think, questions that shake many of our beliefs. As you leave law school and pursue a broad range of careers, including work outside law, I hope you will always remember to question yourselves as well. Question your beliefs, question your assumptions, question your certainty. At times, questioning yourself may seem like an exercise in self-doubt. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. It also seems like an act of insecurity. This is not the case. Questioning yourself and your certainty is a sign of intellectual courage, the act of a genuine truth seeker. If your ideas are built on rigid ideology instead of thoughtful nuance, you will miss out on the interesting contours of life. Instead of navigating the world with a nimble mind, you run the risk of becoming intellectually brittle, of being one-dimensional. This can only limit you and your aspirations. So be courageous and humble. Challenge the way things are. Be guided by justice and motivated by a sense of purpose. And be relentless. This is how you'll reach deeper levels of understanding about your profession and the higher purpose it serves. It is how truth and justice will best be served. But more importantly, it will allow you to live a life of personal fulfillment as well as professional accomplishment. As you go forth on your path, always remember the core values and skills you acquired here at Northeastern will help you succeed. As alumni, stay true to the education and the friendships you nurtured here. And whatever city or country or continent you call home in the future, always think of Northeastern University as your permanent home in the world. Phil and fellow graduates, it is now officially signed, sealed, and delivered. God bless. Congratulations. Class of 2010, congratulations. I salute you. And now let me turn over the program to our Chief Marshal.
Will the audience remain seated until the faculty and graduates have recessed? The graduates will follow the marshals to the Commencement quadrangle for their class photograph. Families, guests, graduates, and participants are cordially invited to attend a reception immediately following today's ceremony. The reception will be in the west wing of the Curry Student Center. Signs and university hosts outside the center will direct people to the reception area.